Denver Nuggets are
Yo, welcome to the show. Let me set the scene. Mile High Sports Symposium, living the dream. Broncos in the house with that orange and blue. Nuggets making moves, watch that altitude crew. Avalanche bringing ice, check the skills they display. Rocky swinging bats, ready for on-game play. Rapids in the mix, kicking it with style. Puffs bring the heat, put the rivals on trial. Chris and JT, they got the scoop. Mile High vibes, feel that energy rise. Sports on the menu, watch the crowd mesmerize. From football to hockey, we're taking it higher. Join the celebration, feel that sports desire. It's a meta play.
Well,
let's try that again. Hi.
Let's try that again.
I was muted. Welcome to the Mile High Sports Symposium. I am your host, JT Matthews. I am here with the Dr. Nicholas Manning. Chris is out today, but he will be back next week, I believe. But no pressure. You know, that's why we got a few hosts, so we can make sure we cover for each other. Doc, how you doing? How you feeling? Happy Wednesday. Here to talk sports, like usual.
Well, need the sports talk in my life.
Yep.
I just don't. I have other stuff that I'm doing too, and I don't. I just need to talk sports. And no, the world's good. I'm a little under the weather, which is a little weird. Normally, I don't get sick, and so feeling a little bit of the yucks coming on. So just trying to, positive thought through that. We'll see how that goes, but trying to also enjoy a quiet house ish.
Yeah.
We each got 3 kiddos not here.
Yeah.
So that's new. I'm embracing it,
Yeah.
so it's a little quieter, but miss the buggers too.
Oh, for sure. It is it's nice, and it's also like, all right, well, now what do I do with my time? Because that's you normally taken up, and my money and all the other stuff that I'm glad to be saving, but also it just feels foreign. It feels like something's missing for sure.
Yeah, it's weird. And it's like, when you go at breakneck speed from activity to activity, game to game, all of that stuff. Now all of a sudden, just like it's like a halt, right? It's like, oh
yeah.
We got one kid to worry about with 2 of us. Like, how did we ever? Anyway, so there's that, which is dope. So I know they're having a good time. We'll see them here in a couple of days. But
yep.
One thing that is always constant is sports rule.
Yep. It's always sports season. Even when it's not, there's always something to talk about. So, and actually we're in kind of a sports, I wouldn't say it's a hot time for sports, but NBA free agency started yesterday night. NHL free agency has started. And of course we've got, what I think I saw today, the first Broncos game is in 75 days. So we're just over 2 months out. That means camp's right around the corner. There's, I think training camp tickets already got sold out in like 30 minutes, which is depressing because it wasn't even on my radar somehow this year. I was like, oh, I should start thinking about that. And then the article comes up and I'm like, oh, I guess I was late on that.
It was like 10 minutes.
Was it 10 minutes? Okay.
And there's only 1,000 seats this year because they're using the bleachers while they finish the construction. So it's even less than it has been. So I wasn't even going to try, to be honest with you. If there's a chance to take them, great. It'd be nice, but yeah, there would have been a lot of stuff. And you know what? There's a lot of folks who haven't been or all those things that I bet people will use it. And
if not, hit us up.
Yeah, throw them out there.
Well, let's talk. I want to start with NBA free agency. Not much has happened with the Nuggets. I think that people are a bit surprised. I think kind of in hindsight now, it makes a little more sense that the Nuggets are holding tight now. I think once kind of the initial big trades were made, obviously we knew Giannis was going to be traded at some point. That domino fell. Then Kawhi got traded back to Toronto. That was just before free agency yesterday. Mm-hmm. We can talk thoughts and feelings on that if you want. But, once kind of those big dominoes fell, it was a lot of crickets. There's been some deals here and there. Nothing really huge. But I want to talk about a few of them, starting with our Nuggets. And one that impacts the roster directly, and maybe one of the few things so far that's happened that impacts the roster directly, and that's Tim Hardaway Jr. leaving for the Miami Heat. Just want to get your thoughts and feelings on that. Obviously, Tim was a great sixth man for us last year, was a finalist for sixth man of the year at the end of the season. I think he came in third voting. It's going to be a loss that I think the Nuggets feel pretty directly. I don't know that there's a plan in place to replace that kind of player. What's your kind of takeaway from that move?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one. It's tough to he goes and signs a $6.5 million deal. Yeah. So as in a distance, it's hard to say like you can't pony up 6.5 for a guy that averaged 13.5 per game, which the Nuggets Achilles heel for how long has it been? It's the bench. He shot 40% from three, which is just phenomenal. And it was a guy that was going to contribute consistent minutes that you knew where you were going to get. But with that, the Nuggets have bigger fish to fry, I would say. I do think it is hard to look at free agency for the Nuggets without really understanding the apron and if the repeater tax hits. So again, if the Nuggets are in the second apron this year, they're hit with a tax bill of $200 million on top of a roster that roughly would cost them about $250 million. And I've posed this, I've heard it asked in a variety of places. If this roster, the one that we had, mind you, there were injuries, but the in my opinion, top to bottom, the most talented roster that the Nuggets have had, at least in the Nikola Jokić era, couldn't get out of the first round. And we're going to run it back and add $100 million tax bill to it. Right. That's rough. If I'm going to pay almost $500 million with a B, $500 million, I want a slam dunk.
Sure.
I want dynasty. I want, so, and that's even before you're going to have to pay Nikola his chips. So there's not a lot of moves that the team can make. It's really interesting how are they going to get under that tax threshold without completely gutting the team, but in a sport where you can't just shed salary. I wonder if they're ever going to look at that. Like, salary cap sport, you should be able to get out of some stuff. So anyway, there's that. So am I shocked they haven't done anything? No, they don't really have any wiggle room. There's not really anyone externally that they can bring in, especially with not renouncing Valanciunas, that kind of stuff. You saw Peyton Watson kind of lingering over. They were never going to be first wave guys. And to be honest, I mean, there's been some nice pieces that have gone, but outside of trades, there's not really hasn't been a big fish that's landed somewhere that changes the game.
Yeah.
The most interesting thing of note, and I think it's not nothing, it's not everything, but it's not nothing that LeBron James is an interested target of the Nuggets, for everything I just said about the tax bill and all that stuff. LeBron James to me would be the last name that I would have thought. However, what I've read throughout the day is that he'd be willing to take a vet min deal to be on a championship team, for a guy that's worth as much money as his. That seems like a smart play. You maximize your options about where you can go, the less you're willing to take. So, I think he's liked what Denver has had. He likes Nikola Jokić, has talked a lot about the appreciation for his game, and how, that would be, wouldn't that be just something? There was a real hope that, that maybe, just maybe in 2018, that he would have pulled that cord. Yeah. One, if he did, he probably has more championship rings than he did with the Lakers, just saying. And two, at least it means that the Cronkies, who Josh Kroenke is the de facto GM, let's just keep it real, still has a desire of I'm not completely tanking this thing, which I respect that. I couldn't imagine having to spend that much money, regardless of how many $1 billion you're worth, to give away $500 million. Maybe it'll work. It doesn't seem like that's how rich people stay rich.
Right.
So it's easy for us to spend it, but here we go. But some of the names that they're rumored to be in on, guys have moved, Bogdanovich, things like that. It seems like they're really going to expect that some guys play better. And I don't know that that's the worst philosophy, but it's definitely not one that breeds a ton of confidence. Yeah. So, and I don't know what's a move that they could make right now.
Yeah, I mean, the LeBron James thing is fascinating. I think there are going to be people who are very strongly on one side or the other. I don't know that you'll find a lot of people in the middle per se. I think there are Nuggets fans that will be, they'll be interested at a certain price range, right? And I think that's what it comes down to. Obviously, if you're the Nuggets, you don't really have much price range to negotiate. It's kind of vet minimum, or if you end up freeing up some space, maybe a little bit more than that, but it's going to be, a 1 year, minimum kind of deal. I think that I am more, and I wonder how you feel about it. Just kind of, do you think that it's a move that the Nuggets should be making at this time? Say you get them for a vet min, or, something around, say they're able to move Cam Johnson, free up some assets, get Peyton Watson re-signed. It's a big ifs, but maybe they can give him $5 to $6 million like Tim Hardaway just got. Is that something you'd be happy to see the team do? I mean, I think that it does alleviate some of the concerns that you had with the roster last year. Not necessarily the injury concerns, but another ball handler. That's something that the team has been missing for a little while. Someone who plays the kind of style that would probably meld pretty well with Nikola Jokić. Still a pretty good defender at his age, not necessarily the same kind of tenacity or energy that he once had, but fills in a kind of a lot of those weaknesses. And then a guy that, when the lights are brightest, will be able to show up and play in important minutes. I am in favor of it, at a certain price point. Do you think that that's something that the Nuggets should pull the trigger on if the feeling is mutual?
The heartbeat. Not even like the whole heartbeat.
Yeah.
I'm less of a LeBron guy than I was, but I think if the Jordan, LeBron, like that stuff aside, he's scored the most points in the history of the NBA, right? Like, he's triple-double machine. There's a ton about his achievements in the game that is undeniable. And so with that, I think accepting that, and if a guy is willing to intentionally come to a place where, like, LeBron's not dumb. He knows that the basketball runs through Nikola Jokić. He wouldn't come here and be like, yeah, let's take the ball out of the best player in the world's hands right now because I want to do it. I think he wants less of that. I, especially for that, I mean, even if, if for some reason he wanted more, that would be a move that I would say, hey, if you ran it back and he's the guy that for some reason you're able to figure out something and his salary pushes you in the second apron, I'd say, yep. Because at least if you're getting better, if you added LeBron James to a healthy Nuggets roster this year, the only outgoing is Valanciunas and Tim Hardaway Jr. You bring everyone else back along with the two rookies. How could you not feel that that's a team that really could challenge for it? I mean, he's a ball handler, smart IQ.
Yep.
Can he defend like he used to? Nope. Is he still a better defender than most people on the team? Yep. So I think it would be a slam dunk. I think the question then, is because I was telling you that Jaylen Brown and the Nuggets are the number 2 spot when it comes to odds in Vegas for Jaylen Brown, but that's not connected to what's the package going back. I wonder what would be, because the need for LeBron would go up significantly if Jamal were outgoing, right? You need a primary ball handler. You have LeBron play that point forward, him and Jokic, and then you have Jaylen Brown off ball. I mean, there's some things to like there with that. Would LeBron want to come and be like the third? I mean, because essentially like him and Aaron Gordon would do a lot of the same stuff.
Right.
Which having 2 Aaron Gordons isn't awful, but that would be a good problem to have. I mean, those are duplicates of a skill set that you've lacked for some time. And so the fit would be, but you expect smart basketball players who want to win a championship, and they'd be pretty motivated to figure it out. So, I mean, that would be a guy I would instantly say, like, you got to do that thing up to and including, what if you got to sign and trade Peyton Watson to be able to lower it, to get that in, like that kind of stuff I would be open for. Because again, to me, at least it shows a commitment to trying something to improve the outlook. I'm not looking that next year is championship or bust. I think that the team should operate with the intent of, nope, we're still trying to win a championship. And that's evident in what we're doing, what we're putting on the court. If you intentionally take a step back to step forward, Nikola's really got to be on board with that. And I think with all of the whispers around, I don't know if he is.
Right.
So everything you're doing now, it should be in hey, Nikola, yes, this one. No,
right,
one.
Exactly.
This one. And so he knows that you're committed and you're staying the course. But that's the NBA, like no other league, right? It is a star-driven league, and we won't get another one like that for a really long time. And what would happen if he left? Really change the landscape of how this region looks at the Nuggets and their fandom. And I think if I were Josh Kroenke, I'd say I will do whatever it takes to make sure at minimum that's not the case.
Yeah.
And so a guy like LeBron or taking a swing at Jaylen Brown, I think those are both moves that say, hey, like we're trying to move the needle. It's Lonzo Ball going to Minnesota. Does that make them better? Probably not.
Right.
But like it's a swing. Like they weren't getting past San Antonio with that roster. So, but like it's at least if you're shuffling the deck, you might catch lightning, you might not. But if you keep doing what you've done, expecting a different result, like we know how that pans out. So that to me is like the big one. I just don't know what they have to do to be able to open the door to make a move in the first place, though. Right? With minimal cap flexibility and like they're kind of stuck. And I think with that, they're really at hostage for like things to move before they could really make moves. And I hope that the league doesn't pass them by in the process.
Yeah. It's a tricky position to be in because you are to a point. we were texting earlier today, and I'm surprised that kind of that initial offer hasn't been given out for Peyton Watson by someone. I thought someone would start running that clock as soon as they could, daring the Nuggets try and figure out how to create that space to be able to keep them. It seemed like the Clippers were interested. The Lakers seemed to be interested, but maybe now after making some moves, maybe not quite so much. So maybe
quite with a hard H.
Yeah,
quite,
exactly.
Quite.
And so now it kind of makes sense for this team to move to wait a little bit. You're not being pressured to make that move yet. Obviously, you want to get something done with Peyton sooner than later, but the longer that he sits there with that initial qualifying offer from the Nuggets, and of course, it sounds like it's going to be rejected. Then you just have time on your side. You have to kind of let that domino fall before you can decide what you're going to do elsewhere. And so I think at this point, it's going to be a little bit, it's going to be a little bit till we see any movement with the roster. Maybe we get something in the next week or so, over the weekend, potentially. With Jaylen Brown, it's tricky because I think that I've kind of wavered back and forth. I like Jaylen Brown, the player, a lot. I like what he would bring to this team.
It sounds like you're about to say "but," so I don't know. I am. And if you've seen his dad, you better be careful.
Noted.
Right, perk. Right, big perk.
That's right. But no, I just think that you get put in a bad cap situation for next year too, and that worries me. And so, you mean
if they get you swap him out for whatever.
So you move Cam Johnson and Jamal Murray. You shed the Jamal Murray money, but you bring on the Jaylen Brown money. And I don't think that you're in any better of a cap situation. Maybe worse because you don't have an expiring Cam Johnson deal to look forward to. Christian's going to be locked up still, presuming he hasn't been moved. And Jaylen Brown's not making pennies. He makes 53, then 57, 61, then 65 over the next 4 years. And you have him under contract till 2029. So it's just, it's replacing one big contract with another one, which, this in this day and age in the NBA, that's kind of how the contracts work. Maybe that isn't so bad in the long term with how it has been, how it's been set up. You got that Supermax extension. You got to pay your guys if you want to keep them. But, if you don't win this year or next year with Jaylen Brown, then you've got to try and figure out how you're going to trade a $61 million contract. Or you're talking about potentially not having Nikola Jokić and moving that contract. And I think it gets a little hairier if you go that direction than if you are able to re-sign Peyton Watson, kind of fill in the roster, hopefully get a guy, a veteran or two like LeBron that wants to come here, wants to take a chance on a team because he likes the culture, he likes the ownership, or enjoys the style of basketball that's played there, and then try and retool again next year when you have a bit more cap space. I waver back and forth because I really think Jaylen Brown's a great player. I really do. I think I'm probably higher on him than a lot of people. But the cap situation just continues to get bad and bad and bad, if you continue to just take on big contracts.
Yeah. And I say, hey, ain't my money, ain't my problem. So I don't know that they'll do it. I think that there's a lot more smoke to this move than there's not. And I also think you don't make this move without Nikola Jokić being in some favor of. I just think Jaylen Brown is a significantly better basketball player than Jamal Murray because of what he can do on both ends. His ability to guard length. So it might not be the ball handler but I don't actually know if that's true. Jamal Murray isn't a ball on the string kind of point guard, right? He's not Kyrie. He's not, he gets wore down by full court press think that Jaylen Brown seems like a much more conditioned athlete when it comes to being able to handle that kind of pressure. Last year, to be honest, if he was the MVP for the first 4 months, I mean, that team had no business being in playoff contention. They stripped it and to avoid kind of where the Nuggets are at now before Jason Tatum came back. And, he averaged almost 30, 48% from the field, 35 from 3, 80% from the line, and then, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. I mean, that it just, to me, I think if you make that move, you're making it with the intent of, right, like he is our building block. Yeah. He doesn't make that much more than Jamal.
Right.
So I think it's like 57 to 52 or something. And so again, to me, I'd rather have Jaylen Brown, who is an MVP caliber player in the league. Like there's elite, and then there's like the super really good. And I think Jamal Murray, right? First time All-Star, first time All-NBA, phenomenal season. And like he maxed out. To me, he like maxed out his ability this year. And mind you, again, I remember this, okay? I played varsity high school basketball for a really bad team. I did not play McDonald's All-America. I'm not Team Canada. Right. So I am not crapping on Jamal Murray's game, and I love Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray's a Nugget forever. I'll be fine with it. I am not anti-trade. I would be fine running it back and relying on health because I understand the limitations that this team has. And they invested in the core like we wanted them to. I didn't see anyone mad when Aaron Gordon got brought back. Didn't see anyone mad when Jamal got brought back, when Nikola got brought back. I didn't see anyone mad when Christian Brown got back, even though I was not thrilled about that deal. I was like, like the investment's there. They offered to KCP. KCP took a different deal. They have taken swings, and so this isn't a cheap. This is it's a significant hamstring. Like this is just it's doing it, and it's going to create parity. It's just weird. Instead of doing this part, so I don't know where like the tax money goes to. Does it go to the other owners too? So you pay them. Like the Pelicans got richer for you competing, so you either got to give up your players or not. But it is going to make things much more even. And so I don't even see a way out of it. Like I don't see how they could get rid of that much salary because of the percentage that you have to get back in a deal. And so unless there's a ton of non-guaranteed contracts you can take from a team, and those got to be like gold. You got like a $10 million non-guaranteed contract in the NBA. It's like a top 10 pick. You better give me a top 10 unprotected this deal, so you can cut him. So if we blink, the bench is like thin as hell, but they have LeBron James, Jaylen Brown, and Nikola Jokić and Aaron Gordon. It doesn't make sense, but all of those guys can dribble and they're smart and will play defense. Like, yeah, all right. Like, will we win?
Right.
I don't know that we wouldn't before. So I'm in favor of like just go for it. YOLO. Let the chips fall where they may. And even if for the fans, the excitement if LeBron James wore a Nuggets jersey, like like that's just it's super cool. And again, when was the last big free agent to come here? Right? It isn't one. We had to trade for Kenyon Martin.
Allen Iverson.
We had to trade for Allen Iverson.
Yeah, sure.
We had to. So Paul Millsap really is the ghost of Paul. You had LeBron James, even at the twilight, saying, "I have one more shot at a ring. I'm going to go to Denver." Like, what validation does that give to what we know and believe in, and to have one of the all-time greats choose your franchise for a team that for a basketball franchise that was irrelevant for 3/4 of its existence. That's pretty dope. So I'm interested to see where they'll land, but because of so much is going to have to be done in the trade market, the free agency period isn't bothering me.
Yeah,
because I think really the only way that they're going to impact this team in a positive way is trade. And so with that, we'll kind of see what comes. I think Peyton Watson sign and trade is much more likely, because maybe, if you're trading out Jamal and for Jaylen Brown, you're taking back less pieces and you're probably sending more out. You got to fill in the roster somehow. And so you sign and trade Peyton Watson and you get 2 rookie deals or bench guys or what have you. I think there's just gonna have to be some flexibility in some of those. So I'm interested to see. It'll be something. We didn't think they could make moves last year.
Yeah, that's true.
And I thought that they were extremely active and aggressive and did a good job. So I'm not expecting any less, like maybe less number.
Right.
I don't think the team that ended at the core will be the team that comes back. So we'll see. Hopefully LeBron and Jaylen Brown on my wish list are a part of it. I am predicting, calling my shot, heard it, July 1st, 2026, that Jaylen Brown is a Nugget.
Okay. I mean, we'll see. It's the waiting game now. It's the waiting game.
Yeah.
It seems like all the restricted free agents, at least the ones that are notable, we're still kind of waiting on all offers to come in for them. So it's not just Peyton Watson, it's other guys too, like Tyrese and
if I'm a franchise, unless someone is like really it, or have so much cap that I can front load this or poison pill it, right? Like that kind of stuff. Why am I going to go set money aside for a guy I don't know I'm going to get?
Right.
While there's guys out there that are unrestricted that I can go get. And so because it's not a sure thing with Peyton Watson, and because he's not a sure thing, he had half of a good season.
Yeah.
It's been hurt all the time. And so it's like, am I going to go throw 4 years, $100 million at that guy when I can go look on and get 3 players who can sign tomorrow, and I know where that's at. But old NBA, I feel like pre-apron kind of crap. I absolutely, I think he's a guy that would have got something pretty damn early.
Yeah, it's funny too. Looking now, I mean, there's a lot of free agents that have been re-signed, but I'm kind of going through the list. There's very few that I'm like, I'd rather have that guy than Peyton Watson. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, I think you kind of look in the building first. You could look at guys. I don't think we're talking about guys like this, but James Harden's still a free agent. Obviously, LeBron James. Jalen Duren's restricted free agent. Not that we need a center. There's some big names out there. Benedict Matherin's a restricted free agent. Good players that are available. Anthony Simons. But at the same time, it's, I think they've did a disservice by re-signing Christian and kind of being ahead of the curve with that and rewarding him, which feels a little bit wrong to say. I do like when guys get rewarded. But it does seem like, you had to pick between 2 guys and maybe you picked the wrong guy, or at least, could have negotiated a little bit better. So we'll wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
And we'll see if we get a LeBron James to Denver announcement at some point in the future, because we'll definitely be talking about that if it happens. Let's transition though. Yeah. But before we do, we have a few little notes.
Got stuff to say. Yeah.
Things that we have to cover.
Yeah. So one, if you could, if you get a chance to, oh no, come on, here's the screen thing. It's going. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not going as fast. Okay. Well, here, we'll go with this one first.
Okay. I can see that too.
There we go. No, we'll go back. Maybe we won't. Maybe we will. No, we'll go here. We'll go there. We'll go everywhere. Go like, subscribe, comment for the algorithm. If you can, give us thumbs up. All those good things helps our self-esteem for sure. Actually, has nothing to do with anything else. But like we said, we have 4 kids each, and rarely ever do they tell us nice things.
That's right.
We are married to sisters. They also are not nice to us and tell us nice things. That's not kidding. Our wives are phenomenal. Our kids are great. But like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. If you are like me and JT, caffeine is life.
For sure.
I don't care what the studies tell you about your health. Just kidding. I do. But go out there, get you some Dubby. you can a ton of different flavors, great stuff. You can get 10% off if you use the code OBN10, Orange and Blue Network, 10% off, or you can remember it as Boney X 10 because he's number 10. And then also, you know what? Don't let the ball dome fool you. Okay, hair style necessary. Go check out Lily's Beauty Salon up in Thornton, one of my former neck of the woods. Get a chance, give her a contact. You can see her number on the screen. If I'm probably, but ton of hours, and I bet if you reached out kindly and needed a little bit of adjustment to help you out, go check out Lily. Really appreciate you sponsoring the network. And with that, you thought that this is this is your favorite podcast. But that doesn't mean that we don't have favorite podcasts.
That's right.
And we do. So with that, get yourself a chance to check out the network every once in a while because we got shows in different area codes.
We do. We got Monday through Friday, and then during the season on non-weekdays, we have some shows. But Orange and Blue Blitz Mondays and Fridays at 11 a.m. We got Broncos Bros Mondays at 7. Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue Tuesdays at 7:30. Wednesdays at 2:30. Today, 3. You had us, of course, Mile High Sports Symposium. Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Broncos Talk. Mile High Outcast Thursday at 7 p.m. Our Spanish Broncos show. Fridays at 6 p.m. Viva Las Broncos. And then breaking news pregame, play-by-play postgame, and every game day. Fresh squeeze, get bucked, the Bucky Booth, and buck your feelings. So always something going on the network. Please, like we said earlier, subscribe, sign up, like all the things that we can get you for support. We appreciate you, and we always got stuff coming out on a weekly basis. So daily basis, really, almost. So especially when Broncos season rolls around, it's going to be hot.
Bam.
Yeah. Hey, where'd you go?
HOTT, even hot with 2 T's. Whoa. There we go. All right. Friends don't let friends click alone.
Unfortunately, I have no power here, so it's all you.
I know. All right. Avs, shall we?
Sure. Yeah. NHL free agency has started. The Avs have made a few deals. I think the most notable
just maybe even set this a little bit though. So we made a couple of moves beforehand. So we are all, I think that we did.
That's true. We talked a little bit about it.
Val. So the choo-choo train is no longer docking at this station. To be honest with you, it's kind of time. It was time. Yeah. Appreciated Val on the ice. The stuff off the ice made it hard to like the guy on the ice, but everyone loves a redemption story, especially America. So hats off to him and hope he can continue the good momentum moving forward in Nashville, which Chris McFarland now is, so Columbus, at least for a bit. Columbus, that's right. He's a Blue Jacket.
Yeah.
The other deals, Jack Drury and Colton are now in Nashville. In return, got a couple of young hockey players from the Preds, Zach Larue and Fedor Svekov, both younger, much cheaper forwards. Larue especially known for his, let me make sure I get all this part, highly physical, hard-charging power forward winger with an agitating edge.
Love that.
He is known for driving momentum, but carries a history of on-ice disciplinary suspensions. Welcome to Colorado. I am not a proponent for like cheap play and all that stuff, unless you get your ass kicked in the NHL playoffs for like multiple years because you're not tough enough. And so you know what? As long as he's not beating his family members or dogs or puppies and stuff off the ice, what you do on the ice, man? You know what? They have their own code there. NHL is a little different. I'm not a proponent of violence, but I also respect and understand that there's a community within the NHL brotherhood that they govern stuff different. I'm not going to tell them what to do. So if we're going to do it that way, then we need a dude that you keep your head on a swivel for because he might shank you.
Yep.
And Zach might be that guy. So with that, kind of tease us up for free agency. So a couple guys going out, free up some salary. Jack Drury is able to get a pretty good extension. I think it was like $3 or $4 million a year, which he shouldn't have got here for sure. So good for him, family lineage and all that stuff. But the Avs go out and sign Jaden Schwartz. Make the Schwartz be with you. 3 years, $9 million. Just finished up a 5-year, like roughly $30 million in Seattle. I'm a little worried about this one. Please help me out a little bit. He's a forward, primarily left wing, or has been, but he's 34. 5'10", scrappy. Was Colorado College's leading scorer his last year in school, 2010. So some of that cool stuff, but he's doesn't make us younger. I don't know if he makes us faster or if he's better in the playoffs.
I think
so maybe sell me on like why is this a better move? Why is that better than Jack Drury or whatever?
Yeah, I don't know if it's better per se. I do think that Jaden Schwartz has had a good career. You know, he's a guy that I think is reliable. I think when you get to the playoffs, maybe they thought part of the issue was they had a lot of young guys who were unproven, especially in those back or those bottom two lines. So maybe they wanted to get some veteran depth. Schwartz is a hard player, man. He plays hard. He's physical. He, he's opportunistic. I don't know that he is the same player he used to be. He's been hurt quite a bit. So I think that's kind of the biggest worry. I think he played 50 games last year out of an 82-game season. So not the best. But I think, they're looking for some veterans to fill out that depth.
But before that, he played 81, 62, and 71 games. So he's a guy that's has been relatively healthy. But again, that was last year, which is the most recent data that we have to go off of. And coming into a year where he's older, and as you and I know, you don't tend to get healthier at an older age.
That's right. So I think it's a solid signing, especially at that price. I mean, like you said, he'd signed a 50 mil deal prior to that. Obviously, that's probably in the back, definitely in the back nine of his career. But someone who brings a little bit of an edge. I think maybe they felt like, they were a little soft, which was something we had talked about and we were worried about. And so they went ahead and brought in a guy that they think will be a little more hard nosed. I don't know if we talked about it before, but they did bring back.
It's a guy that averages 82 games. He averages 22. They did. They averages 22 goals a year, which you weren't getting from Jack Drury. You weren't getting from Colton, sadly. So, I like it, and I like that you were able to say like he plays a little bit of an edge. So just because he's 5'10" doesn't mean that he won't do what needs to get done. And that to me is like that's the selling point. Is Ross Colton. That definitely wasn't the guy that we thought we were getting back. Jack Drury, I think, played as good as you thought he might. But I would much rather for that salary pay a guy in the back nine that has shown me he's done it than the guy that I'm hoping might get it when I'm in a window like they are right now, for sure. So you sold me on it. I like that move better now that we've talked. Brett Burns back. Brett Kulak back.
Kulak's back,
People are mad about the Burnsy move. What's your thoughts on the Burnsy move?
I mean, I understand why people are mad. I think that, we knew he was going to play another year. He's trying to break this Iron Man record. So he wasn't going to retire a year away from that, basically. It was just a matter of whether he's going to be here or not. I don't think he was terrible for us last year. I do think he...
at the bottom six guy, like... he had a couple mishaps in the Vegas series, which, to be honest, point a guy out that played real well.
Right.
And so that to me is like if that's your sixth defenseman or seventh, even if you're running hot, I trust on at least to make plays. Yeah, I mean it is what it is. But they have made a couple more moves, so some names I'm not overly familiar with. Adam Beckman, the Beckman, formerly of the Minnesota Wild, which, all right, I like that already. Rob Peter, pay Paul. Only 25, which I also am a fan of.
Yeah.
And so 6'2", 190-pound wing. So it's interesting again, though. It's like we had their concerns about, do they have enough defensive depth? So far, they think so. Any thoughts on or know anything in particular about Adam Beckman?
Not really, though. It does sound like they want to get some size on the wings. You know, it is, you send out Val, who was a big winger. You bring in a guy who's a younger big winger. You know, it's probably not going to get serious, rotation time, but someone that obviously they like the style of game that he plays, maybe fits a little bit better with the direction that this team's going to go. But yeah.
Well, then they, and to add it, they go and sign Vinny Hinostroza, who was on Minnesota's team. The Minnesota club early in the season got dealt to Florida, but another guy who, it seems like they're getting guys they know, like guys they've played against.
Yeah.
Which makes some sense. And so Hinostroza, yep, I'm gonna stop that. It's 32. Only had 18 points last year between the clubs, but a guy that added significant amount of hits, block shots. But again, probably one of your bottom six forwards.
The depth rotation guy for sure.
Depth rotation guy that and you've seen him in action playing for Minnesota. You kind of know that he again is a grit guy, which stop me if we've been complaining about that. Dominic Fenzor, 24, last with the Stanley Cup winning Canes. Any thought about this gentleman?
No, I didn't even see that one, so that's new to me. I'm not familiar.
Yeah,
sorry.
5'9" defenseman. We'll kind of see. We'll kind of see. Well, we'll see. I bet it is. Seems like a guy that's maybe two-way-ish guy. If I were to that, Noah Jolson, 29. Played with the Philadelphia Flyers last year. Defenseman, +3 rating in 52 games. Again, guy that
physical
grit and is going to come in and to contribute a little bit of what we've been missing. So,
had
not a ton of star power, but guys that'll come get stuff done. Outside of Taylor McCarr, who was re-signed 2-year deal. His name might be familiar to you all. But any chance that Taylor is a dude?
Yeah, I think there's a chance. We haven't really got to
6'3", 190.
He's definitely in the mold of a guy that could play in the league. Obviously, we're not looking at the same
probably bottom 6 guy,
but probably a bottom depth guy. Julson, I like, or Julson, I'm not exactly sure how to say it. I just read that he has 369 hits over the last 3 years. So obviously they're going for big and physical. I mean, I think that's where we felt that team had failed last year in the playoffs specifically. We had worries about it coming into the season. Like, is this team all finesse and no power? I think they did things to address the kind of the gutsiness and the physicality of the team, but I think they still fell short in that area. So it seems like a lot of the moves are aligning to like, hey, let's get some gritty guys. Let's get some guys who'll go out there and put their body on the line, and see if we can kind of out tough some teams that when the game slows down, we have guys we can turn to that aren't going to shy away from physicality, that sort of thing. So I think, so far I like the direction they're going. They may not be household names. We may get very few of those in this free agency period just because of where they are structured cap wise, and with McCarr coming up on a new deal soon, we'll probably see something about that sooner than later. So, there's a lot of things to consider there, but I think the Avs are trying to get to be a little tougher, a little guttier, and we'll see if it pays off for them in the long run. But so far they're being active at the very least compared to some other teams.
Yep. Yeah, you know what? They have a type. They like big dicks and they cannot lie, and so they're getting guys who will dig the net. I think watching that Vegas series, like how many times does someone get lost in front of the net? And you know, that's just for a team that is this good and has been that good defensively throughout the year.
Yeah.
To get rattled enough that you're making moves or errors that aren't really in line with how good of a team you are. And so I like it. I think you're not trying to bring in another, another personality kind of thing. Right. Because you got plenty of those. You got 8 intense. You got Nas. You got some guys that already got that. Really, you needed to get more glue pieces. I think that's what was missing was glue guys. Your Coglianos, right? Your Adam Deadmarshes. Your guys like that do enough. I mean, it's probably a little more disrespectful to Dead. He was a good offensive player, but you know what I mean. Like those guys who are just YOLO, whatever needs to get done. I might have been a 20-goal scorer with this team. I'm going to come in here. It's Aaron Gordon, right? Nuggets roll over the top because they're third or fourth. They're third best scoring options, and I'm fine being 4 or 5. I just want to win, and so I like the moves. In the end, again, you know what? We're going to take some swings at this. We're not going to run it back and thinking that we're going to get a different result. I still think that maybe they got a trade or two in them.
Sure.
With some of the draft capital they got moving forward. And so I think I wouldn't be shocked if they make a move. Again, if one presents itself, knowing that the NHL free agency class this year was not great. So I think they didn't overspend on guys, which is good business. Doesn't mean that they can't make a move, because in the NHL you can dump salaries. There are guys and teams that would want to get out from, especially if it's not within their window. And I think the Avs could probably take advantage of that. So still think that this roster has maybe a tweak or two in it.
Yeah, and I think that they're a potential, maybe for the first time in a long time, a potential trade deadline team to, just kind of see how the season plays out.
Yeah.
See what's missing, what is and isn't working, who is and isn't working with that kind of core group. Maybe not the top core group, but, the Brock Nelsons, the Nas Kadris, those kind of names that are your second, third tier guys. What do those units need? And does making a move make sense at that point? So I think they're definitely going to be in it. They're always in it. That front office is active. So we'll just have to see what they end up doing, but we'll keep an eye on it and obviously talk about it next week if we get some more announcements.
Yeah.
Let's transition. We got a little bit of time to talk Broncos. It is off season, but we wanted to tackle some questions, make some predictions. So Doc, I don't know. You want to lead off? You want me to lead off? How do you want to do this?
Yeah. So you know what? We're having a little bit of fun. Why are we doing that? 1, because it's our podcast. We can do it 1. 2, we we don't agree on everything. So it's a little bit of like getting an idea of where we're at come Bronco time. As the tickets came out, we got a little bit more excited about it's July. Like they will be on the field this month. There will be a preseason game this month. The Hall of Fame game or whatever, but it's football. And so it's back, baby. So with that, we're going to do a little bit of prediction style, kind of who is or what's our thought, along with, just our take. So first, just throwing it out there, feel free to jump in the chat if you want to answer. What? I'm going to ask you this, but I'm going to have a precursor to it. What was the best offseason move minus trade for Jalen Waddle?
I mean, it's tough because obviously I want to say Jalen Waddle. Let me think. I was going to ask you that. I should have prepared myself.
Okay. You should have. I'm gonna take it then. What do you think of yours?
I'm thinking still. I'm not giving up on it. There's a lot of bringing guys back.
So. You weren't expecting it. Yeah. which I think I'm actually going to say the best move, in my opinion, was bring back Alex Singleton.
Okay.
Because I don't think you can quantify what he means to that defense. And in doing so, you really minimized the guys going out, contributing players. The continuity part, I think, on defense really, I mean, as much as on offense, but for a guy that is your brainstem on the field, I don't think that can really be understated. I think it has been. And so to me, I think that would be the most impactful move outside of Jalen Waddle. So I think we both would slam dunk that Jalen Waddle is that move.
Yeah,
if I were to take it out of there, I think Alex Singleton, especially because he was signed after Justin Strnad. And I think once we saw Strnad signed, we all assumed that there wouldn't be an Alex Singleton signing, and hold my beer, they said. And I think with him in place, you know, the area of their defense that I think we would say is maybe the least talented of the groups.
Sure.
But that's more of a compliment to the groups. I think at least has a high floor.
Yeah.
Which you can't have Pro Bowlers at every position. So having a guy that you trust that can make the plays, that bounces back, heart and soul of that group, I think is a move that would be difficult to accurately describe. And so I think it's been understated that he's back. I think that was a phenomenal move.
Yeah. I'll go J.K. Dobbins, my guy, my Ohio State brother. Obviously was impactful when he was on the field last year. Obviously, there's always concern about injury with him, but he's a guy who, you know, had he been healthy all season, was your RB1. I mean, while he was in there, he was definitely the RB1. And I think he's got that potential to at least be a good stable of, you know, head of the stable of backs that we have back in that room now. So I'll go with Dobbins. I like that they brought him back, and I like that he's a guy that you can bring back at an affordable price that, you know, you got a few insurance policies behind now.
Yeah. Love it. All right.
All right. You want me to go? I'll go.
Yeah.
Let's see. I want to know about the offensive line. I want to know what you think the expectation for the offensive line would be. So obviously they were a top unit last year. Is there any reason you see why they shouldn't be that again? Do you think that they might be better or worse than they were previously? Anything that we're not taking into consideration with that group?
You know, it is interesting because it's just remember how long or how there was even the Super Bowl runs, right? Offensive line was the weakest part, probably.
Yeah.
You know, having to take a swing or try and take a swing at Joe Thomas in the Super Bowl season, one that was a smart move for sure. To do, but showed that like, hey, we're a really good team and we're not ready yet. And you know, probably since the 2012 or 13 team, I think 2012 team was better up front, but nonetheless, I think it's the best group we've had since then, hands down. And then even with that group, it's probably the best since the Shanny days. Per PFF at the current moment in time, they're the number one offensive line going into the season. I'm worried because I don't know that there's a somewhere to go but up or but down, right? Like they have performed, but I'm going to actually say they are going to be better. Here's why.
All right.
Because J.K. Dobbins is back.
Yeah.
I think that they're going to have more of a commitment and understanding of how to block in the run game because we saw how atrocious the run game was towards the end of the year. And, you know, so much so that I don't know if it's contributed necessarily to Bo Nix's ankle injury, but I know it didn't help in totality of having to be the leading rusher and passer and just helping that offensive line. And so I think that they will be better because I think, or at least the evidence will show statistically, they're going to be a much better run offense. And especially even maybe if JK gets hurt, I think Jonah Coleman is better than Tyler Bidet or anything like that. And if that is your upgrade, I think RJ will be better this year. I think because of that, I think that the offensive line will be better. even if they just do what they did. Because it's also hard to expect that the group is going to be as healthy as it has been over the last several years, and all that stuff. So that's my take. I don't know if it. I mean, it's right, but I don't know if everyone would agree with it, even though it's the right one.
I'm with you. I actually think that I don't know that they'll be better, but I think that they'll be as good as they were last year. Obviously, barring injuries, we're talking about as it sits on the roster currently. I think, like you said, bringing not Benito. Gosh, I'm looking at something else. Bringing Dobbins back is important to that. I think even Waddle being brought in, just gives them one more receiving unit that Bo can get the ball out quickly to if needed. I think offensively they are in a really good spot, and that they have that may be a little bit underrated still. I think Bo's underrated as a quarterback and a passer, but ability to use his feet too. So I just see that unit continuing to be one of the strengths of the team.
Yeah. What's interesting is I think that is the best group on the team. And, people don't know that. I don't know. But I read football annuals every year. I've done it probably since I was like 6. And, they have their player rate. They talk about players, they talk about position groups, and then they started ranking them. And then you start doing it. I mean, really it is the Broncos roster nationally is so well thought of.
Yeah.
It is only exceeded, I think, by how we think of the team.
Right.
Because I think most publications think that the Broncos offensive line is one of the best units in the league, period.
Yeah.
And so that to me is super exciting because you win in the trenches, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's something that both of you and I believe wholeheartedly. And so when you have that and a quarterback that is ascending at a new weapon, it's definitely cool to kind of see where that'll go. But I also think the depth is better. Right? Balcheski is a good player. I really like Cage Casey. And that addition, you get some guys coming back healthy too. So Frank Crum, and another year more development. I think there was no subtractions, right? I mean, really, it's the same unit, better. Plus, you brought in Cage Casey, who I think has some really good tools. So sure. I like it. Biggest position of strength outside of the offensive line, since we just talked for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'll go. I mean, I don't know how specifically. I'll go corner specifically.
Okay.
I
think that's better too. Yeah.
I think instead of secondary, I like the secondary in general, but I think the corner room is the best. Just still having Jahdae Barron out there as kind of a wild card, a guy who can come in and fill in. If any of these guys get hurt or struggle, obviously Pat's tops of the league. McMillan was our leader in interceptions last year. He's still a really good player. Riley Moss has his moments, but I think he's done more good than bad for this group. And then just having some depth behind them. Chris Abrams-Drain is a guy that we still have some faith in a spot start. So
yeah,
I think it's a good room and one that if we have some setbacks there, we at least have some guys that can come up and play.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about PFF, their 3 starting corners were all in the top 50, top 45, whatever it is. Jaquan was 4th out of 112 cornerbacks rated in PFF. I think that goes to show a lot, in my opinion. I would say, just to change it up a little bit, which is kind of odd to be able to say this, I think it's the receiver room.
I thought that was my other group. So
nice. Yeah. And I think it is, right now Marvin Mims is the backup to your to Jalen Waddle, which is a pretty dope thing to be able to say, like, you have Marvin Mims on the back burner.
For sure.
I think you got Pat Bryant, who essentially is Cortland Sutton clone, kind of. And then you got Troy Franklin and what he provides. Like I said, Marvin. I think Jalen Waddle, to kind of compare the corner room to the receiver room, I don't think Jalen is at Pat Surtain level. But he is a quiet alpha to that group. And if Cortland, right, it's kind of your Riley Moss, if that's your second,
Right.
it's significant floor raising where I would feel really good about Marvin, Troy, Pat on any third in the league, let alone you start getting to 4. And they are talking a lot about running 5 wide. It's like, good. If it's man, good luck. So I really like where they did, and they made up that room in a really kind of an organic way. Waddle's the only outside acquired receiver, and so I think that's just a super cool thing. So that would be my answer. Biggest position of the biggest weakness on this team, position, if you will.
Yeah, I think, I think that it's still running back. I think you've got two guys that are still relatively unproven, and Harvey and Coleman. You brought back Jaleel. I like Jaleel. I don't know that he's going to have a long career in the NFL, but he continues to make the roster.
Mm-hmm.
JK, I feel good about if he's healthy, but there's always a giant caveat there. So, do I think they have a little more depth than they had last year? Yes. Are there guys that I like in there more? Yes. But at the same time, I'm still a little iffy on that group, and I wonder, one of these guys, especially like an RJ Harvey, gets hurt. Do you have enough guys that can kind of step up and do what they do behind them? I think that remains to be seen.
Yeah. I love it. I think that's mine is tight end room. Again, the floor is raised, but for as much as I like Jolie and Dallas Bentley, they are, guys that franchises passed at least 5 times each.
Yeah.
5 times 32. It's a lot of draft picks. And so Evan Ingram, I think, underperformed / underutilized. Adam Troutman, that's the market now. We see tight ends getting some money. It's weird. The blocking tight end is a thing again.
It is.
So, but again, I think when you look at it, like I was going to say, or look at linebackers, PFF has Justin Strnad or Alex Singleton, the 25th rated linebacker in the NFL, and Justin Strnad 26th from last year.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like that's, it's above average for that unit. And so to me, I think the tight end group is, it's not scared of Evan, and I'm not scared of Troutman. Like none of them really provoke concern for me yet. And I think it's a lower floor with the rookies than any of the other rooms. But the cool problem to have, like those are your, JK was a top 5 leading rusher when he got hurt.
Right.
RJ Harvey had 12 touchdowns last year as a rookie. Mm-hmm. Right. It's like, but I agree with you. Those are the areas that it's like, I don't know. Those aren't the ones that I feel the best about. That's for sure. All right.
I got you one. Who do you think who's going to be the most improved player on the Broncos? So the whole roster, we're not limiting it. At least I don't think we should, but I think that there's a lot of guys that we can expect or hope that take a jump. Who do you think will be the most improved?
Yeah, so I would have answered this different like 2 weeks ago. I think it's going to be Jonah Coleman. Nope, we're right. Jonah Ellis.
That's what I thought you were going to say. Okay, you swerved with the Coleman. I was like, what?
And so with Cooper getting himself in a situation, I think that his snaps are going to be up for grabs, and so Ellis is he's so smooth. He's young and still ascending, and has it. He's a guy that I think is a 3-down defender in the NFL. Can play the run, has the pedigree, all of that stuff. I think he's a guy that if he got starter snaps, I could see. I'd be shocked actually. If he played majority of a full season, if he didn't get 10 sacks, which for as good as Cooper has been in some places, I think he's also maxed out. And I think Ellis has a higher ceiling. Yeah. And so he's one that I think if he got that run, he would really produce. It's also, I don't think there's a ton of guys that I think haven't really flashed where I would be shocked. Troy Franklin was that guy last year. Went from a guy who could catch the ball and stay on the field to leading the team in targets, and earning a lot of it, I think. But that would be my answer. I think if I had to put money on it, that would be where my money would go.
Okay, I like that. I'm torn between two. I've got to make a decision. I'm gonna go with Malcolm Roach. Roach.
I like it.
I think that he is going to have an opportunity to play more snaps than he's played previously. Obviously he's been a rotation guy. He's a guy that I think is really physically talented, especially for his size. 6'2", 290. He's when you throw him on the end, he has the ability to create pressure. I think he'll have an opportunity to be a little bit more of a pass rusher than he was last year, and just have more opportunities to do so. So I think that we could end up seeing him maybe not statistically being as dominant as some of the other guys who might take jumps, but as far as creating chaos, getting in the backfield, being special physically on that offensive line, holding that end, I just think that he's going to be improved. And I think that he's a player that they've liked. He's had some opportunity with Sean Payton in his, on his rosters. And I think that this is his first real opportunity to kind of carve out a bigger role and a larger name for himself. So I'm going to go with that. But I did want to pick back.
I like it.
Pat Bryant. That was my other guy.
Ooh. Sadly, I don't know. I think he's really hurt by Jalen coming in for just,
I agree.
Just opportunities, not because I'm definitely I'm a huge Pat Bryant guy. But all right. Let's see. All right. Okay. Who is the Broncos touchdown leader next year? So not just rushing, not just receiving, not just returns. Who crosses the end zone the most for the Broncos?
That's a tricky one. That's tough.
Thank you.
I'll probably be boring on this one, but I think it's probably Court. I think Court's going to have a lot of opportunity with a legitimate, 1A, 1B receiver across from him. I think it's just going to open him up more. He's going to have more favorable matchups. I think when you get down in the red zone, he's going to be able to feast kind of like he has previous years. I was looking up and down the roster trying to see if anyone else made sense to me, and I could see a few scenarios. If the running game really gets going, JK stays healthy, there's an opportunity there. Waddle obviously is going to hit some home run balls, and he's going to be open because of Court also in the red zone at times. But I think Court's the answer for me.
I think Court is the right answer because I think he's the guy that he's built for it. Yeah. As the kids say, he built different. If I had to give an answer that was different than that, thinking outside the box, I might say Evan Ingram.
Okay.
Because of his familiarity and connection with Davis Webb. So they were teammates in New York. Raw indications really early on in camp have been heavy emphasis on Evan. What that means for when stuff happens, who knows? But I do think Davis is a guy who will pay more attention to that because of the attention that Waddle and Cortland Sutton will have, and J.K. Dobbins / RJ Harvey. That they were a productive group. I think Evan was forgotten about, and to be honest, Bo Nix hasn't been good at utilizing the tight end. Hasn't had great ones, but I think that there'll be more of a push and an expectation for him to attack the middle of the field. And I think if you put a linebacker on Evan Ingram, ask Bobby Wagner last year, didn't work out. So I think he's a guy that might sneaky, especially if stuff in the receiver room is really spread out. I think he's a guy that could really leach those red zone targets. And so my turn. Who leads the team in interceptions?
I mean, I'll just stick that. I think it's Jaquan still. I think Jaquan is a ball hawk, man. I think he knows how to play the nickel position. He can get physical. He's sticky in coverage. He is opportunistic. You know, when that ball's in the air, he's around it. You know, it's easy to want to go a different route, but I think, you know, he's proven that he's that guy when it comes to takeaways for this team, and I think that he is still my pick.
Yeah. I like that because interceptions are volatile, right? Like you have really good coverage and they just don't throw you the ball, which is why I'll never say Pat Surtain will lead the Broncos in interceptions, because they better know, and if they don't know, they better ask somebody. I think, especially if this player plays the entire season in a contract year, I think Brandon Jones is, I think, in a spot to be able to really capitalize on those opportunities. And then my dark horse is Justin Strnad, I think, because he's kind of the coverage linebacker. I think, you know, maybe he's a guy that they attempt to pick on a little bit more throughout him. He's shown ball skills. That's kind of why he got drafted in the first place. We thought was going to be that. And so I think he's a guy that really, you know, if there were a dark horse one, I would say, hey, you know what, I wouldn't be shocked this year, which, you know, 4 interceptions in a season is one you have to get thrown at, and you got to be good enough to make play. And so not always do those things go hand in hand. So that would be my guess. And then now I'm going to ask you to follow up on that thing. Who is going to lead the Broncos in sacks? And
okay, I was waiting for it.
Who outside of Nick Bonito will it be? So I think both of us would probably say Nick.
Sure.
Nick Bonito would. So who would be your two? You know, assuming that Nick's healthy all year, all the stuff, and he gets his 12 to 15 sacks. Who's your number 2?
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. Just because with everything up in the air with Jonathan Cooper still, I mean, I think it puts Jonah Ellis firmly in the driver's seat to be that guy. And I agree with you. I think if Ellis gets a chance to start or becomes the starter for this squad, then he's probably my front runner for that. I'm trying to think of who else. You know, could Zach Allen take a jump? Maybe. I don't know that is exactly as far as like getting to double-digit sacks. I don't know that we can anticipate something like that. You know, so I think it's a little bit of a stretch to think that, but yeah, probably I'd have to go Ellis right now. You know, and obviously Cooper potentially if he's around, but
yeah. And to be honest with you, I don't even think Cooper would be my number 2 anyway.
Okay, all right.
Maxing out at 10 just isn't enough for me. You know, Zach Allen averages about 6 sacks a year. That is counting his rookie season where he only played 4 games, I think, and didn't have any sacks. But since he became a Bronco, he's had 5 sacks, 8.5 sacks, 7 sacks, which would be roughly 6-ish. And he's a guy that gets tons of pressure, leads the league in quarterback hits over the last several years. So I think it would be easy or even smart to say like some of those quarterback hits. So instead of him sliding away from Zach Allen, it's someone else get a hit. Maybe he slides to Zach Allen, gets a hit. So I think that would be where I would go. And I think a dark horse candidate for me, especially at the number 2. So Jonah Ellis is off the board.
Sure.
And so is Zach Allen. I think would be, again, Justin Strnad. I think Justin had 5 sacks last year. Playing part-time-ish or his ability to gauge the blitz,
for sure,
I think is actually pretty stellar. And so, you know, if you're that successful on the minimal amount of blitz packages that you have or snaps that you played, could he get 3 more, be it 8 or 9? Yeah. It, depending on who they're paying attention, who not to, I think that's just an interesting one I would put out there. So I know we're running past it, which I asked you to hang on with me. And so hopefully you all are still happy and engaged. So I want to do a couple more. Again, I don't want to go back to adulting yet. So if we can do a couple more. Okay, hit it.
This is going to be more of a team question. So you may want to pull up your schedule. What outside of the division, I want to know what game you want the most on this Broncos schedule this year.
If I were to go to a game, or is it the one I'm just looking forward to the most?
No, the one that you want them to win. Like if I had to circle a game and say this, the team's going to win this game.
Yeah, the record is this, but they got this win no matter what.
Yep. I want to know outside of the division which one you think would be the most.
I would even say, to be honest, in the division, I think the game that I would want the most is the Rams game.
Okay.
I, by all bets and all account, just got Myles freaking Garrett on top of already being the betting favorite.
Sure.
You got to win against the Rams. I think, one, it's instant legitimacy. My second was the Seahawks. Again, same damn thing. And so I think that would be big. Both are on prime time. So there will be national eyeballs. But the exercise was to pick one. So I would pick the Rams game. I think if whatever the season record is, I don't care if it's 1-16. It's but you get one, that one would be dope.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
That one.
Yeah, I don't think I don't know who the betting favorite is right now, but I'm sure it's them or, them and someone else right now.
No, it's them. It's them pretty clear cut.
Yeah, that's what I assumed.
Yeah. So
I think for me, I was kind of wavering between Rams and Seahawks too. I'm actually going to swerve a little bit and say the Patriots though. I just think I think that would be it would be fun to let Bo Nix play that team in regular, hopefully. Well, I mean, it is January 3rd, so it could be a blizzard again, I suppose. But, full strength, normal conditions, normal-ish conditions. Bo Nix out there, making a statement against a team that really we probably should have beat last year. A young up-and-coming quarterback that everyone wants to crown. And I think that, if you can go out and make a statement against that team that's been embroiled with some off-season stuff and, has some players that maybe we aren't too fond of at this point, I think it could be a fun one.
Yeah, I like it. Yep, and the Rams are the betting favorite. They moved from plus 700 to plus 550. The next is Seattle at anywhere from plus 800 to 950. So, a couple $100 difference in the bet, which is pretty significant, considering I think the Broncos are plus 2,000. And so that would just be pretty good. Be a pretty big win. Yeah, I think another sneaky one is the Jacksonville game.
I know. I thought about that too.
Yeah, for me and you.
We went to that game last year.
That's for us. Redemption would be
right.
A dish best served hot as a mofo.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like those. I think beating New England, especially New Year's on their field, with probably a lot to play for both teams at that point in time. And of right the wrong, for sure. I wanted. Now you remember that we was going to beat that. I think that part's huge. Let's see. By the end of the year, Bo Nix will rank in the top statistically, so yards, touchdowns, whatever, in kind of the ranking of quarterbacks. At the end of the year, Bo Nix will be in the top what?
Are we just talking statistically or just top
100 list, that kind of thing.
Yeah, okay.
There'll be some
this quarterback out of all the quarterbacks.
Yeah. Yep, all the quarterbacks. You'd feel confident saying at the end of the season, Bo Nix is a top what quarterback?
I'll say for whatever. I'll say 10.
You think top 10? I like it. Okay.
I was going to say 12, but
push.
like, why? If I'm going to say 12, may as well say 10.
Miss it, right?
I think Bo Nix is still slept on. I think that, obviously there are some, I don't even know that I want to say deficiencies with his game. There are moments where it looks uglier than others. I think part of that is play calling. I think we had some issues with play calling last year. We'll see if that changes under Webb at all. I think
we'll probably I like that. I think that's an under recognized issue in a lot of the things. That doesn't get talked enough about. I like that. That's good.
And so I think that, I think he's still an underrated athlete. I think everyone says that he doesn't have a long ball, but he obviously can throw the ball just fine. I think he's fairly accurate. He has his moments, but I think on the run, he throws the ball pretty well. I just think that he's got all the tools that are there. He's a good locker room leader. I think his guys play for him. I think, I don't think anyone goes out there and is worried about his competitive spirit or his ability to make a play when they need it. I just think that he has the tools that this team needs him to have, and I think that he fits this offense perfectly. Obviously play calling, like we said, can be a bit frustrating at times, and there's a lot of nuance to it, and I think there's still a lot of learning to be done by Bo, but I think for the most part, I think he's rounding into a really good quarterback. I think he has potential to be top 10 for sure.
I like it. I think if you're gonna go on a limb, go on the limb. And
let's go.
I couldn't agree more with the he actually doesn't have a deficiency. Mm-hmm. There's no aspect of his game that I think that I would categorize as a weakness, which hopefully I think goes up, because we all had the same concerns like dink and dunk and all that stuff.
Right.
He ran the offense. In the end,
mm-hmm.
He ran the offense that it was asked to do. And then, reminding folks that he was the number 2 dual threat quarterback coming out of high school. So again, higher than Lamar Jackson, etc. So he was a guy that won with his athleticism. And if you watch any of the Auburn games, he had to survive. And so he is a damn good athlete. And I appreciate that he gets slept on because we benefit from it. I think that chip on the shoulder is super important for a bit. So let's do a couple more and then let's get out of here. Do you got one to throw my way, or would you like me to volley?
Go for it.
Okay. So end of the year, the Broncos rank where in the NFL in rushing yards per game? So answer that question, and then I'm going to ask you the follow-up question. Broncos are a top what rushing team end of the year?
Okay. Man, it's just so dependent on health. I think they have potential to be a top half team. I just don't. I'm not convinced that JK will stay healthy. Maybe some maintenance games here and there will keep them a little more fresh. We'll see. I'll say right in the middle somewhere. I'll say. I'm wavering. Yeah, I'll go right. I'll go dead in the middle. I'll go 16. I think they're if they're healthy, I think the way that they like to use RJ Harvey, in the passing game takes a little bit away from their rushing attack at times. And he hasn't shown that he's great between the tackles yet. Obviously you'd rather have him in space a little bit. Coleman, I think, has potential to beef up those numbers a little bit with the way that he runs physically, as long as he can get out of the backfield and get some momentum, which we had some struggles with previously with some of our larger backs. But I think JK, between the tackles, I think in space he's good. I think you can get him around the corner. He's got enough speed to break off. I don't know you're going to hit any huge home runs with him, but I think you guys can have a consistent attack. So I'll put him right dead in the middle.
I like it. That's where they were at last year, was 16. And so with that, how many games does J.K. Dobbins play?
I'll go. I'll go. It's so tricky. I'll go 14.
Okay. Okay.
I'll go 14. I think he'll get banged up. Hopefully he doesn't have anything season ending, obviously. To expect him to be healthy for a full season, I think it's a pipe dream at this point. Until we see it, I don't know that we can predict it, or at least I can't. But I think that he has potential to stay relatively healthy, to be there and impactful in games where you need him. Maybe he's a guy you consider giving him some maintenance days. He's a little bit banged up. All right. We've got enough depth where we feel okay against the lesser squad that we can let him sit. So maybe there's some of that built in. But I just think, I'd love to say 16, 17, but I just think until proven otherwise, we got to err on the side of caution. And I think that 14 is pretty generous, to be honest.
I don't think he's ever played that much in a season.
Yeah.
And so recognizing that last year they were a top, so he got hurt in week 10. The Broncos were a top 5 rushing team before he got hurt. And that's understanding too, that most top rushing teams, so it was Buffalo, Baltimore, Chicago, Washington, are all teams, New York, the Giants, who have running quarterbacks or quarterbacks that would like to run. And Bo Nix maybe is not to some of those levels, but pretty damn close. And I think if JK plays 14 games, so 4 more games, he had 700 yards through 10 games, that puts him probably at 1,000. First 1,000-yard rusher since Phil Lindsay would be huge. And so I think that the Broncos will have a top 10 rushing offense.
Wow. All right.
Top 10 rushing offense. Because really they were. I think if you milked out some more games from JK, I also just feel so much better about Jonah Coleman than Tyler Bidet being that guy, and not asking RJ Harvey to do more and knowing that there's a net. So maybe though he still is the number 2 guy, but that's because he took a leap, not because you have to. And so that would be my big one. And then my last one, okay, last one for you is who is the next Bronco to get an extension? Okay, so some guys that are up for it.
Okay.
This season. So you have Brandon Jones, J Mac, Riley Moss, Ben Powers, or Marvin Mims.
Those are tough. I think it's one of the corners. I don't know which one yet.
Okay.
I could see a scenario where it just depends on where they want Jade to play. I mean, I think if you think he can play legit slot, which I think is where most people think that he would be best suited, then I think that Riley Moss gets re-signed and J-Mac more likely leaves. But I think that you inherit a little more danger extending Riley Moss than you do Jaquan. So it's a flip of a coin for me. I'd probably rather see McMillan get the extension, and there's a chance both of them get extended. I'm not ruling that out, but I think when you have a guy waiting in the wings that was a first round pick, that probably one of them is not going to be back. Or, so I'll say Riley isn't most likely.
I like that. I think J-Mac. I actually think J-Mac is the. Okay. Yeah, I think he'll be cheaper probably because of the slot. I also think he's shown to be. I mean, they need playmakers a little bit, but I do. It's interesting because this next year the band won't be back together like they were this year. And all those guys are guys that you would love to have. I think Brandon Jones is super underrated, and there's not a replacement right now on the roster for him.
That's how
Ben Powers does have one, and I think that's something to note for sure. Marvin, do they have another returner on the? Is it really that matter that much? Not sure.
Right.
But I do know the Broncos can't lose both J-Mac and Riley, and so that to me will be an interesting thing. And I think for us to remember that Riley and Jaquan are the same age, so they're both 26. So guys that have ascended, you hope you can bring both of them back. But it's part of the game. It's kind of also why we kind of love it. Is you gotta be forward thinking all the time and making the moves. So thanks for indulging me in the game.
Wait, I got one more for you.
Oh, I like that. Let's go.
Real quick, one more for you. Which depth guy is going to see a biggest increase in role? Like which guy that isn't currently maybe in a rotation or maybe has a minimal role in the rotation, whatever group that be, who are we going to, Broncos fans are going to know the name of pretty clearly by the end of the season. I can buy you some time if you want to look a little bit.
If you have your own guy, go ahead.
I got a few different ones to choose from. Start
with just one, and then let me do mine, and then you can go with more.
All right. I'm gonna go on a limb.
Okay.
And I'm gonna say, just because he's been my guy for a while now, JL Skinner.
Oh, I like it.
He's got bumped up on the depth chart. Hufanga is a great player. There's a potential, he's always a potential injury risk. He's missed some time historically.
Yeah. Same with Jones. Yep.
Yeah. Same with Jones. I think he's a guy that comes in and plays a really physical brand of ball. I think he's a guy, obviously a special teamer that is impactful out there. Can tackle, can create opportunities to dislodge the ball, can create a little bit of havoc out there. I was big on him when they drafted him, especially where they got him. Obviously, he was battling injury, season-ending injury that year. A guy that's kind of slowly crept his way up the depth chart. I don't think he's the most obvious choice. Obviously, when it comes to secondary, a lot of guys aren't getting run unless someone's hurt. But I think that he's a guy that people will at least be a little more aware of by the end of the season and can get some spot starts.
I like that. I would think though, I think Devon Key actually would be my answer for that at the safety room. Partially because he graded out really well in his limited snaps. I think in PFF, overall defensive grading was at 88.5, which would make him top 3 safety in the league with an 83.6 grading coverage. This PFF again, just know that, but I can use the tools that are here, but I think that absolutely is a really good one. I'm going to shake it up a little bit, and I'm going to go CAD. I think Chris Abrams drain. For as much as I would really want Barron to be the answer to the question, I've seen Chris Abrams drain do it, and I think he's just a guy that I don't know if it's me, right? Like that's why I would bring back J-Mac. Because if I have at least Chris Abrams Drain, who I think could be really good, and you have Barron, I don't know that both those guys can play in the slot. I don't know that they can't. Sure. But that would be my leverage piece, really, is Chris Abrams Drain. And wherever you think he can maximize, that's where I would shift my focus, being the other guy, because I think he's going to have an opportunity really to kind of be the Broncos, in fact, because of the slot, kind of the third outside corner. And guys get hurt, banged up. Riley got hurt for a game. Pat got hurt a little bit, and he came in and contributed. And I think he's a guy, still hasn't turned 25 yet, who will be a contributor that will, get a couple picks and be a guy that you're like, he's not out there a ton, but every time he's out there, like, dude, make something good happen.
Yeah. I had both the rookie tight ends on my radar as guys who can make an impact, just because I think that room is not the strongest, and they're looking for playmakers, especially Bentley. I think is more of a pass catching tight end than like an all around tight end like Jolie. I like some of these young guys like Red Murdoch, Torian York in the linebacker room. I think both those guys could find roles. Torian York, I think, is a little more challenging just because of his size. He's kind of a real outlier when it comes to size and length, but
measurables in general. Yeah, because he's not overly fast either, being a shorter guy.
Yeah,
he's just been a dude.
Just
I think
around.
one that I wanted to say, I actually think if I were to redo it, I probably would say maybe is Q Robinson. I think.
Yeah, I thought about him too.
I think part of the reason why the Broncos haven't panicked about Jonathan Cooper and went and got a vet or something like that. So I think they feel really good about the room, period. And DeAndre Tillman has a high floor. I think you know what you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
Not flashy, but subtle, but steady. I think Q has a chance to be flashy. He just is physically, he's Adonis, man. Like he's just built in the lab kind of guy, and you can't teach, the godlike athleticism. So he's a guy that I think continues the ascension. I think he might be a guy that we look at the end of the year and be like, man, we're set, and I think that'd be pretty dope.
All right. I think that's it for today. We covered lots and lots, more than I thought we were going to, which is great because we were like, this morning, we're like, what are we going to talk about? There's not much going on. But
no one's moving on Peyton Watson. Like, what are we doing here, guys?
This turns out, when we talk sports, so we could talk for a while, which is good.
Yeah.
Good to know about ourselves.
It is good.
Since that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
But thank you, everyone. We appreciate you. That's right. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you being here with us today. We will be back next week, same time. Maybe a little bit earlier, 2:30. Yeah. But we appreciate you. As always, please follow, support us and the other shows on the network when you can. Be kind to one another. Be safe out there. And if you need a sports prescription, ask a doctor.
I got it.
From football to hockey, we're taking it higher. Join the celebration, feel that sports desire. So grab your crew, let's hit the show. My high sports symposium, let the good times flow.